Ladies and gentlepersons, hope you are doing splendidly well. I would like to introduce my guest for this evening, the baby-faced little sex demon and a guitar-playing wizard. Once that beard really kicks in, then you could be a wizard.
Well, I did start growing a bit of a lockdown beard. It got quite big, and then I was like, no, this is getting way too itchy. And so I was just like, go away.
What happens is, see, you have to get past that stage, wait till your skin has become so inflamed and irritated that underneath and manky that all the nerve endings die.
Is it like that awkward stage when you're growing your hair where it's just kind of like there and your head looks like a mushroom?
Yeah, it's the equivalent. But yeah, you get nice sort of psoriasis underneath all the hair that you can't see. And when you got to that point, everything's good. So
Maybe one day.
maybe one day, when puberty really kicks in.
Oh yeah, still waiting. This is my voice when it's high.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Anthony Murch, guitarist for the Rock Dinosaurs and for It's Not Just a Phase Mum, which is your latest endeavour.
It is, yes.
Excellent. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, all things considered. Just recently managed to start getting into playing music again. Now the rehearsal studios are open. I've had a couple of practices with It's Not a Phase Mum. I've had one practice on Monday with the Dinos, which, it went pretty well, given that we'd not played anything for a good 3 or 4 months. We weren't too rusty. So, yeah, all things considered. I mean, I've been working throughout this entire shebang. I won't say the word. That's a new button that you need for the first person on the stream to mention it. You can get like a picture of John Cleese, like, don't mention Corona.
Oh, yeah. Or just one of those kind of beep out noises. I'll get a nice big fart sound just to put on that whenever anyone says anything.
Yeah, so I mean, because of the work that I do, I've been working like throughout this whole thing. I mean, not quite as important as all the wonderful doctors and nurses and everything else like that, but company I work for does make the chemicals that are used in things like hand sanitizers and industrial strength cleaning agents. So that's been very much in demand, and we've been rammed for months.
Yeah, my job, in a sense, is benefiting kind of quite greatly from this whole thing, because being a sign maker, when people shut down, then they need signs on their buildings to say they're up for sale. And then when they move into new premises to start businesses, then we provide signs for people going in. So that transition period is really good for us, but just shit for everybody else. So sorry to make money off the backs of you lovely people who are struggling, but someone out there will.
Of course.
Ben says the beard, apparently the sort of itchy beard situation comes at usually about 2 inches long. That's when the psoriasis kicks in, and you just become accustomed to looking like a hobo.
Yeah, I probably got to 3/4 to an inch at best.
Look at us men talking about inches.
We normally overestimate them.
Yeah, but no, in this case, we're just deadly honest. Right, so how have you found the lockdown regarding music? Have you been able to keep yourself busy? Has it sent you in any new directions? Has it made you discover anything about yourself?
Well, when lockdown first started, I just to try and keep myself busy, I put up a few covers on YouTube and whatnot. So I was focusing a lot more on my singing, because that's something that's a more, I say, recent venture. I've been doing it for a few years, but considering I've been playing guitar for 14, 15, singing I've been kind of taking seriously for 2 or 3 years, and I've been trying to work more on that, and I've had some singing lessons. Obviously that was prior to lockdown, and I mean, you've given me some great tips on that. And I'll give
you my tip any day of the week.
I did learn a lot more about my voice and what I can and can't do with it, at least thus far. I can sing quite high, surprisingly, in falsetto. And so I did a cover of Stacey's Mum, doing the the really high harmonies on the chorus. It was
Nice.
quite interesting. Like trying to do like 4-part harmonies is quite difficult. Um, so yeah, I started off doing some covers and stuff, and then I don't know, I just not really done much since that in terms of putting things out. But I have been sort of playing guitar here and there, just trying to stay on top of things so I don't get too rusty. Been working on a few sort of been trying. I've been focusing on sort of. I've taken a few videos of myself playing and like watched it back and been like, right, what can I improve on in terms of
We are
like,
talking about guitar here, aren't we?
yeah. I mean, other things too, maybe.
Well, why not? You've got to try and fill the time somehow constructively.
But yeah, so I was sort of watching it back and watching like seeing what my picking hand's doing, seeing what my fretting hand's doing, and be like, right, could I try and do that better to maybe get that run cleaner and just
A bit of self-improvement.
yeah, just try and keep on top of things.
Sophie's now taking the piss out of me for my angry BG impression like the other week.
The old AC/DC thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that trying to get the right. You can either get it quite accurate or completely the opposite, and the complete opposite is what I achieved.
It works though.
So like an angry BG or a really frustrated little gnome.
Oh, you could be like one of those gnomes from Fable that shout abuse at you.
That'll do.
I don't know if you ever played Fable 3.
I think I know what you mean. A long time ago, I watched some footage of it.
Yeah. You go around collecting these gnomes and you find them because you can just hear them off in the distance shouting abuse at you. It's actually quite horrible, like especially if you play as a female character. There's actually some really awful stuff they say. They literally say stuff like, "Hey, shouldn't you be in a kitchen?" and shit like that. It's like, oh my god.
We all know that gnomes are
did
just
that get in a
complete
game?
sexist bigots. They always have been, always will be. Sit in the gardens, pulling their asses out and wearing their silly red hats and all that kind of thing. So, I actually, considering how long I've known you, I don't actually know much about the Anthony of his younger years. And this is a question I always like to ask while drinking my favourite beverage. What have you got?
I shall join Budweiser.
Budweiser. So,
Bud.
at what age did young Anthony take an interest in music? I know you've given us a little bit in your bio, but so far everybody I've spoke to has usually picked up something at school, which has either been piano, flute. There's been a couple of flutes.
Mm.
A cello as well, which I was quite highly surprised by. I think that was Nick Johnson was the cello.
Yeah, I remember him saying that. I was like, I couldn't really imagine it. I was like, Nick playing a cello, that's interesting.
I could imagine him hitting somebody around the head with it, but playing it is a different thing.
Hi,
Hello,
Jill.
Jill. Mwah. Shall we blow some kisses for Jill?
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Mwah, mwah.
Yeah, she's stood in for vocal duties for Rock Dinosaurs before as well. She did really well.
Oh, we all love Jill. We miss you, my lovely.
So yeah, right, let's go back to the beginning. Cue in and some swiggly effects down the screen.
Yep.
A la Wayne's World.
Great film.
So, I may not sound like it, but I was born in Scotland.
Really?
Yeah, way
See,
up
you
in
learn something new every day when doing this.
Aberdeenshire.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I know I don't sound it. I've been down. I mean, I moved down here when I was about 7 or 8.
Oh, okay.
My dad was in the RAF and he was based up in Aberdeenshire at the time. That's when I was born. However, apparently I don't remember them because I was way too young when they died, but my granddad and great granddad on my dad's side were born and bred in Glasgow, so I do have some actual Scottish heritage other than being born there. So I kind of grew up in a very mixed variety of music. Liam.
Oh. Liam Joseph Donovan says, as a person who was in a band who didn't get past much more than a few poorly organised practice sessions, I appreciated being in a band with Ant because it was a pleasure to play with such a cool, laid-back lad.
Now, Liam. No, our band wasn't necessarily what I was referring to. I'm going like way back in the past to like some of my very early bands that literally did not get much further than a poorly. I mean, our rehearsal sessions were at least organised, but we'll get onto that in a while.
Mate, I was in a band called Emotional Suffocation, and our greatest song was a song called I Have Shit Myself.
I'd love to hear it.
I will dig it out. I do have a copy of it.
Oh wow, really?
I do. I shall send it to you.
I have to hear that. Oh, that's brilliant. So yeah, born in Scotland, grew up in a very strange mixture of music. My dad is very much into his classic rock. He was born in '55, so he sort of grew up. Had his teenage years amongst the '70s prog rock scene. He's like a massive fan of like Uriah Heep and Deep Purple, and like Queen is one of his favorite bands. So yeah, from him I was hearing all that sort of stuff. I was hearing, Queen, Deep Purple, Uriah Heep, Fleetwood Mac, Meatloaf, like all sorts of good classic rock stuff. And then if I remember rightly, I'm not sure if I do, my dad might be able to correct me if he's watching, but I think my mum listened to, the pop acts of the day, probably like Madonna and Celine Dion and things. I think I remember seeing, like, a vague memory of seeing those CDs around. You never know, they could have been my dad's.
Well,
then you had my
I wasn't
brother.
going to say anything, It's a liberal time, each to their own.
Yeah. Then you had my brother, who's 10 years older than me, who was mostly listening to 90s dance music and Eminem. So I was quite a mixed household of music, but I obviously did lean much more towards the rock. I mean, I remember when I heard Bat Out of Hell for the first time. I'm not sure when that was. They weren't. My dad says they weren't mine.
Hello, Andy.
Yeah, I can't really remember what sort of age I would have been, like probably barely even 10 or something, but I just remember hearing Bat Out of Hell for the first time and just thinking, like, this is amazing. Like, and that intro guitar solo, I thought that just sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Like the harmonies and everything, I was just like, this is just brilliant.
I think when I heard Meatloaf, for me, it was that this is exactly what I've been looking for. It just had, because I like you, I heard Meatloaf at sort of quite a young age before I really appreciated music properly.
I think some of the earliest rock songs I remember hearing is like Bat Out of Hell, Poison by Alice Cooper, probably a few Queen tracks. Those are the ones that, like, despite being quite young, I've got a vague memory of hearing those at quite a young age. So, I got into secondary school and...
Hello, Chris.
Yeah, got into secondary school, and as always, you have your music lessons and stuff, and we're all tinkering with the keyboards. Mostly, if you're mostly just pressing DJ.
Woof, 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 moo, woof.
Obviously, anyone around our age, I suppose, will know that particular keyboard. And you go, DJ, dictionary. Usually the teacher getting gradually more and more annoyed with that. So yeah, just tinkering around with the piano. And I remember it wasn't until quite late in my teens that I discovered that I had been sort of noticed at a younger age, because I think I must have been about...
This isn't
16.
in a Jimmy Savile kind of way, is it?
No.
Good, just checking.
I must have been about 16 or so when I found an old school report from when I was like, maybe 12 or so. And I remember reading under the music section of saying, and it basically just said, like, I seem to have a knack for it. I've just sort of picked it up brilliantly. So yeah, my parents bought me, probably when I was about 13, 14 or so, I was bought a keyboard, which was one of those fancy ones where the keys lit up and sort of showed you where to put your fingers. It had a load of inbuilt songs. I remember it had Let It Be on there.
Of course. What else would you have?
So the keys lit up and was like, put your fingers here. Okay.
The magic words every teenage boy wants to hear. Put your fingers here.
But that came later.
Yeah.
But yeah, that lasted a little while, but it just, it wasn't for me. And to basically run through a long story very quickly, when I was about 12, when the PS2 had just came out, I had a really good report card or whatever, so my parents bought me a PS2 and a bunch of games. Had that for a load of years. Traded it in, got a GameCube. Didn't like the GameCube. Traded it in, got an Xbox. Had that for a little while. Then traded that. This is the original Xbox. So this would have been about 2004, 2005.
I was about to say.
No, 2004, 2005. This would have been. I traded that Xbox with a friend of mine called Paul for a guitar that he had and a crappy little 10-watt amp that, he tried picking up guitar, just didn't get on with it. And I was just like, I'll have a stab at it. And so, yeah, I got this little Stag Strat copy. With one of those little like Squier 10-watt amps.
Yeah.
And I remember I just basically just went on YouTube and was just like, well, not even sure if YouTube existed at the time, but I just went on the internet and was like, how do I play guitar? Found loads of tabs and things, and then I found a magazine called Total Guitar, which every month there's an issue. And it comes with a CD with a load of backing tracks on it.
I had Guitarist.
Yeah, and it's got like tabs in the book. And the very first one I got, I remember had Dave Grohl on the front of it. And I remember the song. I still remember what songs were in that issue, at least most of them. So these were like some of the very first songs I attempted to learn at least bits of. You had Surfing with the Alien by Joe Satriani, and obviously that's how I
just go in at the shallow end. Why not?
Well, I picked up the intro at a very slow and poorly played pace. So I mean, that's how I discovered Satriani. Just from I discovered a lot of artists and bands through just buying Total Guitar magazine and buying Metal Hammer as well, and getting the free CD that used to come with that, hearing a bunch of bands.
I remember those days.
And going on dodgy, illegitimate music video websites on break at school and watching the latest Arch Enemy video or something. Yeah, there was also one of the very first songs I learnt that was in that issue. It was Welcome Home Sanitarium, Metallica. Again, some easier parts in there. So like I learnt the old probably still remember it actually. The old what have I pressed? That's not what I want. That's what I want.
DJ.
All that sort of stuff. That wasn't too hard for a beginner, but I imagine back in the day it was probably just more like that. Sort of like just
That's
very
it.
slowly.
The closer you can get your nose to the note, the better.
Am I fretting the right note there? No. So yeah, that magazine helped me out a lot, and then certainly when YouTube came about, whenever that was, I don't think that was until. No, I think YouTube started in 2004 or so. So yeah, I think YouTube, I was doing, just looking up videos of how to do this, how to do that. Just gradually over time, just through hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of practice, coming home from school, probably going straight into the study, grabbing my guitar and just fucking playing, and then dinner, back to guitar, for just God knows how many hours. And I mean, even on like on the weekends, I went out with my mates and was a cool teenager or whatever, trying to be. But even still, I'd get home in the evenings and it would just be guitar.
Kevin said YouTube was 2005, so it probably would have been around
Yeah,
about that time
right.
then.
Yeah, about right.
So, the thing what I remember really fondly about those times of when we start to learn a new instrument, it's that excitement of something new and that constant urge of, I want to play, I want to get better, I want to do more. There's such a hunger for it, isn't it, and drive when you're young.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's only so much you can do when you're still in that early stages, and there's always like these really cool solos you hear that where you're like, oh, I want to play that, but you just can't. Thankfully now, most things I can. There's still plenty of things that I'd love to play that I just can't because I'm not John Petrucci. So
Well, that's the story of all of our lives, I think, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, I like to think I'm all right, but
You're a
not.
very good guitarist, my boy.
I'm not like a shred master or anything. Like my sort of shredding it's more about the speed and accuracy. Like that's what I really need more practice on. Like I'm just not great when it comes to insane sort of solos where they're just like all over the place at high speed. Like Malmsteen stuff is like well beyond me. I mean, like, Malmsteen riffs. That's easy enough, but like when it gets to the solos, I'm just like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, I'll just skip this bit. But the thing is the one thing I've really noticed about your playing, and which is quite sets you apart from a lot of guitarists who, like for example, have depth with recovered and things, is you're incredibly meticulous, and you can see that you are really focusing on what you're doing, and that you're not a scrappy player. I find you're very precise.
I like to try, especially with covers, I like to try and be close to the original with a bit of my own flavour.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on the song, like obviously with the Dinos, obviously we do your standard rock cover stuff. Like, I will take some liberty with AC/DC and things like that because I'll just improvise most of those solos because it's just a solo, it doesn't really matter. But when I'm playing like Sweet Child of Mine, where it's like an iconic solo,
Yeah.
I play it the way it's meant to be played, or at least as close to as possible, and with a little bit of my own sort of stamp on it. But a lot of other things where the solo isn't something that's memorable, it's like I'll just wing it.
Ben just said, "Welcome Home and Hell Awaits got me into thrash after watching a BBC Two documentary." Oh.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my thrash. I mean, I was a big thrash fan, still am. I mean, I'm not crazy into like the extreme stuff, at least not anymore. But I've always loved Metallica, always will. I've got the Metallica. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got the Metallica M on my arm. Like, call that cheesy or lame if you want, but
I call it a tattoo.
Yeah, like Metallica have always been one of my favorite bands, always will be, along with like Iron Maiden, which as cliche as that may seem for a metal fan, they're just bands that really spoke to me, and like those were songs that I heard. I remember hearing quite early on. Like I remember being my ex-stepmom, I was in a car with her and I think one of her friends or something, and a song came. I don't know if the guy had his tape on or a CD on or it was the radio, but I remember hearing a song and I was like, this song is amazing, but I've no idea what it is. It wasn't for years and years after that I discovered that song was Run to the Hills. I remember I found Run to the Hills for the first time, and I was like, holy crap, that's that song I was just like, what is this? So yeah, again, I mean, I saw May, like, because I I left school 2007, went to college, did that for a year or so, and then we had like the big recession, so work was very hard to find. I did the odd job here and there, but I didn't actually get my first full-time job until like 2012. So I never really had a lot of money. So it wasn't actually until 2018 that I actually got to see Maiden for the first time, and it wasn't until last year that I finally got to see Metallica. 'Cause I could just never,
God, that's
I could
a
just
long
never,
time.
I could just never afford it. Like, I mean, the Metallica tickets were like 75 quid each.
It's a
Like,
lot
and
of
that,
money, isn't it?
and we were, that was at Twickenham Stadium, and we were way up in the rafters, like, because that was all that was left.
Yeah.
That's all I could get. And even then, they were 75 quid. But I was like, I'm paying it. I have to see Metallica before Lars has to use a Zimmer frame. And I'm really glad I did. It was a great show. And Ghost was supporting them. I really like Ghost. I mean, people have mixed opinions on them. Obviously, as far as sort of modern day bands go, I really, really like Ghost. They're quite a bit different.
Well, to be honest, people's opinions don't really matter. If you like it, you like it.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those bands that just seems to really, really split opinion. It's like a Marmite band. Like, some people call them like a crap Merciful Fate, but it's. The thing is, I remember seeing Ghost around for a while, and they had like the makeup and the masks and everything, and I was like, oh, that's probably just like black metal stuff. I won't really like it. Well, I quite like black metal when I was like 15, 16, and then I grew up. No, black metal's still alright, but I prefer the more melodic stuff, like Dimmu Borgir and things like that, which was what I was talking about when you had Sam on.
Oh, James Jansen says he loves Ghost.
Yeah.
Ben says, what about Satchel Vi? So that's coming after his watching the BBC2 document. So what, are you a Vi fan?
Yeah, I like him. I mean, I can't say I've listened to tons of stuff, because I mean that's the thing. Like, I just have this. I don't really have particular guitarists that I listen to loads and loads of their stuff. Like, I know of some Vi stuff, you know, the obvious ones,
Like For the Love of God
same
and
with
things like that.
and like Bad Horsey and things like that. And obviously same with Satriani. I know obviously like Surfing with the Aliens, Summer Song,
Satch Boogie. Yeah.
Malmsteen again. I guess these are people that I probably should look more into, but I've never been one of those guitarists where I just see one person and just want to look at everything they do and be like, well, I want to be like them. I think I've just kind of heard little bits of each person and been like, oh, that's kind of cool what they're doing, and I'll sort of pick bits here and there out of that. But I think
that's nice though. I mean, I've done some gigs with, like, where I was playing in originals bands and sort of gigging around London, this, that, and the other. And you get these other bands where you can see that the guitarist has modelled everything in his life on a particular guitarist. There was one guy who came up, and it looks like he might as well have done a written exam on how to play like Zakk Wylde. And it was impressive, but he did the Zakk Wylde stance, had the Zakk Wylde bullseye Les Paul, did all the squeals in exactly the same places. And it's
you just need wah, an insane vibrato.
Yeah, and just like
that was not a pinch harmonic.
That's very squealy.
Frank, I'm guessing you mean Frank Zappa.
Yeah,
that's actually somebody that I know the name. I've probably heard something by them, but I've never actually knowingly listened to any like Zappa stuff.
Okay, a recommendation for you to check out is a concert called Does Comedy Belong in Music?
Okay.
Because Zappa's stuff spans so many sort of different areas and genres and styles, but he did sort of during his 80s phase, he did some of his real sort of I think sort of late 70s 80s, he did some like of his really iconic real comedy stuff, and his band are like incredible, the best musicians who were around at the time. And there's one song also called He's So Gay, And it's like, he's so gay, he's so gay. And you've got like the keyboard player is as gay as it gets. He's got the tiny little hot pants, like pink shirt on, fantastic keyboardist, incredible singer. And he's fully camping it up. And it's the funniest thing. Absolutely. Oh, is it Dye's humour belonging
No,
in
I think that's probably a typo.
Dye's humour.
Because oh yeah, I mean he's.
I thought you were getting German.
Does even. Dye's humor.
Yeah, belonging the music. But no, check out that concert.
I will. Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's one of those names that I've heard and just not. I mean, maybe I have heard stuff and just not known it. Because like I said, it's just one of those things. I've probably not done anywhere near as much research as I could have done. I've just played guitar, like, and just kind of found my own way, and just like, does this work? Yes. Does this work? No. And I've picked little from songs I've learned over the years. I've picked little bits like patterns which I can just move about, and alter and make my own thing with.
Well, it'd be boring. It'd be boring if we all did exactly the same thing and went down all the same roads. Where's the variety in that?
But if I had to compare myself to anyone, I mean, like I said, it's just having grown up massively loving Metallica and Iron Maiden, like Kirk Hammett and Adrian Smith, kind of meld those two together, and you've probably got pretty close to my style of approaching lead playing with less wah.
Well, you can't go wrong. Adrian Smith, as I said in the stream the other night, is a particular favourite of mine. I've always loved his playing. Beautifully structured solos.
He's my favourite.
So let's get a quick brief musical history. So, first proper gigging band.
Right. First band, if I remember rightly, was probably when I was sort of 16-ish. Me and some friends formed like a black metal band, as I suppose it was supposed to be. We even did. I mean, I'm glad the pictures don't exist anymore, but we even did a terrible photo shoot with like corpse painted and everything.
If anybody out there watching has any of these photos, please do send them in.
They will not.
Damn.
Because I think the only place that they probably would have been able to find them is MySpace, and MySpace a while ago, as I discovered, basically just wiped a crap ton of stuff off their servers that hadn't been touched in years to make space.
Probably for the best, to be honest.
So loads of my old photos are just gone. Because I remember a few months back, I was like, I fancy cringing a bit. Let's look at my old MySpace. Hoping to find some old photos, because I've said to people before, like, there's so few photos of me kind of between the ages of 14 and 18. There's like nothing. I have very few photos or videos left, because they were either on a computer which died, and I lost everything, or they were on MySpace, got wiped. First band probably about 16 or so, sort of a bad attempt at black metal. I think we were called Carpathian Realm, if I remember. But obviously that was one of those bands that just never went anywhere. You know this, I guess our viewers won't. My first ever time on stage was with you and Matt.
It was.
Way before we actually knew each other.
Yeah, it was one of the Dean Guitars Owners Association evenings, wasn't it?
2008 Dean Guitar Owners UK meetup thing. You had some jam thing going on, like write your name down. Like, you had a list of songs that you knew, and it was like, write your name down if you want to play guitar on it.
Which one did you come up and play?
I played Enter Sandman, and that was my very first time playing on stage.
Excellent.
And then
it's nice to know that we broke you in, took your virginity and all that.
But then we never we didn't meet each other until a few years ago.
Yeah, we've not actually sort of properly known each other that long, have we?
I can't even remember like how it was
Wasn't it just
that
through a
we
gig?
actually met.
It was,
Yeah, well,
it's
no,
probably
no,
gigging with
because
you, wasn't it?
no, it was because you were depping with the dinos that I
Yeah.
actually started to meet you, and then at one point I was just thinking, hang on a minute, I recognise this guy, and I was like, holy crap, that was a guy that I played with at like my very first gig.
Oh, funny how we all come together, isn't it, everybody?
Yeah. First gigging band would have been the college band that I had, which would have been soon after that time that I played with you. I was in a band. I went to college to study music, and they put us in a little band, and then we actually ended up basically the entire band that we had in college. The bassist and the drummer were brothers, and they knew a guy called Bruce, who they were in a band with outside of college, and they heard my guitar playing, and they were like, "Oh, we've got this band outside of college that we need a second guitar player for. Like, would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be cool."
Remember, if you're going to burp, do it properly.
I'm trying not to be rude.
Oh, come on. I've already farted twice,
I didn't hear it.
and I did a
Tried-
burp. I did a burp while you were talking, but I managed to actually literally go. Burp.
I did notice.
Okay, you did notice.
So yeah, I ended up. They basically dragged me around this guy's house and was just like, "This is the guy," and like me and this Scottish bloke that I'd never met before. He was just like showing me a bunch of riffs and was like, "Oh, can you play this?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Duh.
And we were called Absolution, and we did a few. Can't remember where we played. I know we played at the Twist in Colchester a fair few times. I'm not sure where else we played, if we ever played anywhere else, because obviously, being young, like none of us really had a car or anything.
Yeah, mummy and dad. It's up to mummy and daddy to drive us everywhere.
But we managed to get a few gigs at the Twist. We played like one of their plug and play nights, and then we ended up getting a few gigs there. We actually played with a band called I don't think they exist anymore, but they were kind of becoming pretty popular. There was a band called Sacred Mother Tongue.
Name sounds familiar.
Andy James was the guitarist. I don't know if you know Andy James.
No, I don't think so.
He's made quite a name for himself as a guitarist now. He's an incredibly good player. He's got a load of solo stuff. He's done a lot of like Lick Library videos and things like
cool.
that. So I got to meet him, and he was a really nice guy. So yeah, we got to support them. That band, after college ended, it just kind of fizzled out. Then I ended up joining a band. This would have been, I want to say, 2010. I joined a band called Shadowed Eden.
Ooh.
And they were kind of a melodic death kind of thing. So imagine Arch Enemy kind of vibe with clean singing, like Dark Tranquility, Mors Principium Est, that sort of.
Yeah.
And again, we did gigs at the Twist, we did gigs at the Railway in Ipswich, some places in Chelmsford, fairly localish places still. That band was certainly a bit more serious.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that band. We played, like I said, we played sort of melodic death stuff, which I was really, really into at the time. I still enjoy it.
Just a question: have you got a mood light in that room that changes colour?
I don't know.
That's really weird, because your colour of your thing is like going and changing all colours. It's quite funky. Don't worry. It's subtle. It's atmospheric.
No, it's just spotlights on the ceiling. So yeah, Shadowed Eden was with them. That probably lasted a year or so, and then the drummer moved away to go to uni, and the bass player he either did the same thing or just left. And that's when Liam, who commented earlier, came in. He replaced. He was the bass player that replaced him, and there was a guy. Oh, what's his name? I've got him on Facebook. I can't even remember his name.
Oh, it's not good to forget the names of your next band members.
So we had a guy. Liam, can you remember the drummer's name? If you're still watching. So we had a guy on drums and then Liam on bass come in to replace them. We did a few practices, but I don't know, something just felt like it didn't feel right anymore, and it just kind of fizzled off.
The magic had gone.
It was done. I mean, we had some great songs, in my humble opinion. One of which I wrote, and I hate myself for writing, because it was a song that was massively inspired by like Carcass.
Right.
And the problem was
the intro didn't go.
The drummer, being a drummer, a typical drummer, would always play stuff quite a bit faster than it's supposed to be.
Yeah, guilty.
So he'd start the counting, and I'd just be listening for the tempo, and most of the time I'd just be like, oh god, I've got to play at this speed, because the entire intro is just tremolo picking, like trying to play it at the sort of speed he probably would have done it at. It was literally just like and that's basically it for the whole song.
Yeah,
like you've got that for the intro and stuff, and then the verse was like, the verses were like it's like that for the whole song, just tremolo picking, and the speed he would play it at, I was just like, thankfully I put a slow section halfway through the song, which I'd always look forward to. I'd get to the last chorus, I'd be like, oh yes. I was like, I can rest.
This is the doom section. Here we go.
This is the section where I can rest my hand. And then came probably actually one of the favorite riffs I've ever. Let me tune down to the tuning that's actually supposed to be in. Probably one of my favorite riffs I've ever written was in that song, because it probably won't sound as good without the drums, but imagine a sort of offbeat chime, a half-time offbeat china, like sort of
heavy disco.
Like the chime, well, not the china is on like the offbeat.
Yeah,
and you just got like. Like it had such a groove to it. I always used to love playing that riff. Yeah, that kind of thing. It had such a groove that you could just headbang like mad to, and it's like, yes, this is brilliant.
Oh, good.
So yeah, that band sadly fizzled out. Then up next came a band called Adonis,
which obviously was named after you.
Of course. I probably was back then. I've put on quite a few stones since that band. I used to be so skinny, like back in sort of 2012, sort of around then. I was so skinny, like maybe 9-10 stone at best.
That's probably not good, mate. That's
now I'm like 14. I want to drop a bit, but I like cake.
Yeah. You'll survive longer on a desert island than I will.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
I'll eat you, or you should eat me.
Yeah, I was going to say you probably use me as a toothpick or to like rub two of me together to get a fire going. But apart from that,
I'm not sure how to describe what Adonis was musically. Just heavy metal, I guess. Like the vocals were kind of screamy, with some singing in there as well. I'm not really sure what to compare it to, really, or how to describe it, but it kind of had a bit of everything, sort of some Iron Maiden-y bits, and then some bits that were like sort of death metal-y. But that was good.
So where did Kaine come in then? With
that's what's coming next.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. After Adonis, came Kaine, which I was probably the most obviously successful original band that I've been in thus far. I joined them at the beginning January 2012. Can't remember. I think I was in a Facebook group for musicians, and I think the singer posted up an advert saying, "Oh, we need a new lead guitarist. We play like sort of classic 80s metal stuff." I was like, "That sounds right up my alley." So I messaged him, and they'd basically recorded the whole first album, and then they kicked the guitarist out because he was just god awful.
Oh dear.
And he sent me the basic mix of the first album, and I listened to it, and I was like, "This is really good stuff. Like, I think people will like this. Like, this could go somewhere." I was like, "Yeah, I'm interested in auditioning." So I learned some of the songs, went for an audition, and then this is kind of similar to your two vocalists showdown thing.
Oh,
they asked me to learn 3 or 4 songs and come to a gig with them. We played at the Portland Arms in Cambridge.
Right.
And I did half the set, and then another guitarist did the other half of the set.
Oh, that's a bit naughty.
Thankfully, I won.
That's not kosher, darling.
So very similar to your sort of showdown with the other vocalist.
Yeah. Cheers, Matt.
But to be honest, I knew about it beforehand. I knew that was what was going to happen. It wasn't just like, right, get off stage. This guy's going to try out now.
And we'll get the audience to vote at the end. See who they thought was better.
So I remember I think we were at Birchhanger Services or something after the gig, having a Burger King, and the singer was like midway through scoffing down a burger, and he's like, "Do you want to be in the band then?" Yeah, all right.
Was the other guitarist there, and they just told him to fuck off?
No, because he got a lift there with somebody, and then I guess he got a lift back. But I happened to I got a lift with the bass player, I think.
So you had a man on the inside already.
Yeah. So yeah, I joined. I learned the entire album, wrote solos for it, added extra lead bits, extra harmonies and things like that. And then I got thrown into the studio to basically replace the old guitarist's parts. And that was my first ever time doing like a full album. I was like, this is cool stuff. I'm getting to record like an album. I'm going to be on an album.
Those farts I was telling you about?
Yeah. Brutal.
Cool.
That almost clipped the mic.
That was a proper raspberry. Short, sharp, and
so yeah, we released that album. I think late 2012. It was probably something mid to late 2012. I think we probably released that. It got a pretty good reception. I mean, looking back on it, the music's pretty great. Production isn't the best, but it's good enough. Certainly for a first band that were on a budget and had or God knows how many re-records already. Very tight budget studio that I think wasn't really used to doing metal. I think this was probably like the first metal album he did ever done.
Right.
It's been remixed since, and it sounds a bit better. We did like a anniversary edition or something like that, which was remixed, and it sounds a bit better. But certainly the original wasn't amazing. But to me, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm on an album. And yeah, it had some great songs on it. And we just gigged like heavily. Gigged anywhere we could, up and down the country, every weekend, like 40 to 50 gigs a year probably.
Jesus, that's good
like,
for a
because we would just yeah, 'cause we just took anything and everything. It didn't matter where in the country it was, like, or what it was doing. You know, there were so
Okay,
many times.
I may retract that. That's a good statement. That sounds like
Yeah,
hell on toast.
sometimes it was awful when, you know, we'd travel all the way up to like Nottingham or something to be the opening band at some gig with like a couple of people there, and then we've got to drive back home again.
Yeah, I share that pain. I remember that
But
well.
our idea was like the more we get out there and gig, the more likely we are to get noticed, and someone will sort of see us. Somebody will be in the crowd. That'll be some inside man at EMI or you know.
Shall we allay any ideas of people who still believe that's the case now? It doesn't work.
No.
No. Long ago, probably 40 years
Does to
ago,
an extent.
maybe.
It does to. I mean, you're not necessarily going to get some EMI bod turning up that sees you, but it works to an extent. An extent that you will pick up a lot of loyal fans, like they buy all your stuff and like anytime you're in the area, they come and see you just from that one gig up north you did, God knows how many years ago. And it's like, oh, that's lovely. Like we've got so many fans that have been fans of Kaine for years and years. They've always bought everything we ever did.
Oh, that's good.
And came to any show that they could. And I mean, especially now that, I mean, I left Kaine beginning of 2016, so like 4 years ago now. And it's just gotten even better for them. Like they've got so many, especially now that they've picked up more fans with their later albums. They've got such a great, almost cult following.
Oh, cool.
I mean, there's a guy, I think it's David Green, I think it's him, who he will travel the country to see those guys.
That's really nice when you can get.
He
people
supports
like that.
them so much. I'm not sure where he lives. I think he might be up north somewhere, but he's traveled down south so many times just to go see them. He buys like everything they ever do. So then, yeah, we had the first album, and then
He's even got it there. Look.
no, that's not. This is what we're coming on to.
Okay.
Then came second album time. I actually did 2 albums.
Good lord,
Rain
sir.
Me. This time we got signed to a label, which is a story in itself, which we'll come to. We were signed to a label. I'm not going to say any names because of the stories you will hear coming up. Despite the fact that everything I will say is true, the guy will deny it to the ends of the earth and probably even try and sue me for libel. So, not that he would ever watch this or see it, but...
What are you saying? Right.
We got signed to a record label, and the guy sort of pushed us toward... The guy was in a band. He was the front man for a band who were doing quite well for themselves, and he kind of set up his own little label, which at the end of the day, it was all really just a sham to kind of get money. We kind of we hired him as a manager / label guy, kind of paid him.
Do I know this person?
I'll message you the name.
Okay. So Anthony is currently typing, so we can just have a little off-camera. No, I don't know him. I've heard of the band.
Okay,
I don't know the person.
So he was the singer of that band, and he sort of formed this record company, and he wanted to sign us and basically sort of manage us as well. And we basically had to pay him a fee every month for managing. But really, he didn't do a lot in terms of managing. He basically just dictated everything that we should do.
Right.
He was the one that
By the way, what happened when you typed? That just came up on the screen.
You need a hand, dude.
No, I said, do you want to go and take him out? But yeah, I just realised.
That story will come up as well. I almost did.
But yeah, when you typed that up, it flashed up on my screen, which then got broadcast by accident. No one gives a shit. Doesn't matter.
Oh no! Everybody knows. What will I do?
Oh, anyway, carry
on. So this guy, basically made us pay a fee every month for sort of managing and doing the label, and basically just dictated everything to us. Some things good, some things bad. Like he kind of before that we were just four dudes basically dragged off the street. He basically said like, you guys need a look, and that's when we ended up with the whole like skinny jeans and sleeveless shirt 80s thing. That became our uniform.
Right.
Had to be sleeveless shirt, skinny jeans. That's how you look. And so that became the Kaine of 2014 and onwards, or 2013 and onwards, probably. It was about then. So he'd recently recorded his band's album with this guy in London, and he kind of pushed us towards recording with this guy too. Now, despite us saying, you know, we want our album to sound similar to these albums, this is the kind of guitar tone we like. This is the kind of sound we want to go for.
Yeah.
Our manager was basically just like, no, this is how you're going to sound, and dictated sort of what we would sound like in terms of mixing,
right,
and everything else. But the producer was amazing. He was an absolutely lovely guy. He was a Greek guy called Akis. Absolutely lovely guy. Absolutely pushed you to your limits of playing. Like
That's
I could do a take that I thought was great, and he'd be like, "Nah, do it again. You can do better than that." And I'm like, "I don't think I can." He was like, "Yeah, you can. Do it again." And I'll do a couple more takes, and he'd be like, "That's better." Like even just so much as doing a bend, he'd be like, "I didn't like that vibrato. Do it again."
That's good.
Like it took me 12 hours of non-stop playing to record my parts for that album.
Bloody
Partly because of how many times he made me go over certain things.
Was it worth it though?
Yeah. And but he had so many amps. I mean, we used basically the same amps for everything. We used a 6505 for all the rhythm stuff and a JCM 900 for the clean stuff, I think. But he had loads of really nice guitars, and he was like, "I think this song needs this guitar," and he'd hand me this guitar, and he's like, "This got this kind of sound to it. I think it'll suit this song." And like he was really on the ball with knowing how to get the right sound. And I think if we were allowed freedom to get it sounding like we wanted to, I mean, I still think it sounds great. Like certainly in terms of quality, certainly better than the first album. It sounds like a metal album.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the kind of metal album we would have wanted to produce, but it's up there. Like it sounds good. It doesn't sound. You wouldn't listen to it and think, "Oh, this is poorly mixed." And that album was very, very well received. Like it got great reviews. We've sold quite a lot of copies of that album. I'm not sure the numbers. I don't know if Rage, the singer, is watching. He might have tuned in. I don't know what he's up to.
Are you there?
If he is there, he might be able to give an insight on numbers. But we've sold a lot of copies of that album. In fact, one of the things that I'm very, very proud of is I actually have that album on vinyl.
Oh, that's awesome.
We released a vinyl version of it, which was incredibly expensive to do.
Yes, it's not cheap, is it?
I'm on vinyl. I think that is so cool. Like, I'm on a vinyl, and I mean that it's blank because this is a test pressing.
Gotcha. That's what'll make it all. That'll make it worth more in the future.
The original, the proper version has the center artwork and everything like that. This is a test pressing, which you never know, could be worth something one day. Not that I'll ever sell it because it's a memento for me. That we got 100 of those made, which cost, I think something around the region of £1,000 to have 100, because it's not something that's done every day.
No,
like
true.
It's doing small runs of vinyl like that. It just costs so much.
Yeah.
But we were like, we want to do it, and we did. Which brings me on to an interesting point. When I got that vinyl, I listened to it, and I don't know. I want to hear your opinion on this as well.
Okay.
I don't know if it's because people say vinyl sounds better. vinyl sounds warmer, clearer, whatever, all the purists, what they say. I listened to it and I thought it sounded better. Now, I don't know if that's because I'm expecting it to sound better,
Possibly.
or whether it did sound better.
Yeah,
I bet
you've
Simon
already,
has a brilliant
yeah.
Pinto fat for that.
Well, you've already set up a pre-bias, haven't you, for what you're expecting? But I think there is something. There's a nostalgia feeling to it. There's the crackle.
Lovely, Matthew.
Oh, good boy. But there's the crackle of the record as it's going round. You know, there is a more of a warming sound to it. It hasn't got as I think the frequency range isn't as wide as CDs and things. So therefore, what you're hearing is, I think a lot of it comes from what we sort of maybe grew up with as well, and so vinyl holds a lot of memories. So I think that's part of it.
Okay, interesting to hear your side of that.
I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, which brings me on to a funny story. Which, Heather, this is the story I said I was going to tell. I remembered this story today because I thought I remembered about the vinyl, and I was like, I'll ask Mike his views on that. And then I suddenly remembered this story coming off of it. When the album was finished, and we were getting it mixed and mastered, the guys sent me, the singer sent me 3 copies of the opening track and was like, right, these are sort of 3 levels of mixing and mastering we can get from this guy, sort of in terms of basically how much effort he's going to put in.
Yeah.
And you had like the cheap version, the mid-range version, and then like the super expensive, like it's going to cost £1,000 to mix your album version.
Right.
And he was like, listen to them and tell me what you think. And I was listening to them and I was like, oh, the £1,000 one really sounds better.
I'm sure
like,
it did.
I know it's a lot of money, but maybe we should think about it. He sent me the same song 3 times with different names. It was just a complete placebo effect. But something, because he said, because it was just a complete prank, and looking back, I was pissed. Because they dragged it out so much. Like, they called it the Crystal Mix.
Speaking of dragging it out so much, I think that's probably what Matt's doing.
But looking back on it, I find it really funny. Like, it was clear. I heard a difference. Like, my mind heard a difference because he said, like, you know, this is like the top level mixing and mastering. It was literally the same thing 3 times over.
Brilliant. That's a really good experiment in the
bastards.
human psyche, that is.
So yeah, that was that. That's the last album that I did with them, and then we took that album on tour.
Hello, Mr. Ellison.
So that singer slash manager slash dickhead offered us to go on a UK tour with his band. We were like, to promote the album. We're like, yeah, that's great. So we did a UK tour. It was May 2014, I think. But actually, no. The tour was to promote his band's new album.
Right.
Despite the fact that this is how much of a twat he is. Despite the fact that our new album was ready to as well, he would not let us sell that album, like at gigs.
Really?
Because he was like, this is about promoting my band's album, like new album, not yours. But our sort of super fan, we had a bunch of copies with us, and our sort of super fans that came along, we kind of went down the back alley and were like, sell you an album, 10 quid.
Yeah. Got a
We're
stash
not
of
supposed to
albums
do it. And you know, I won't go into too many details because there's just, maybe I will in private with you sometime, because it's a long story, probably boring.
You're
for
just a
most people.
prick, mate. It's that simple.
Like, there's so many things this guy did, but basically we had a massive falling out towards the end of the tour. I almost knocked him out in the dressing room of the Barfly in Camden. And we very quickly quit that label after that and had nothing to do with the guy ever again. Also, his band didn't have a bass player for that tour, so he borrowed our bass player. Our bass player had to do 2 sets a night. He had to learn
God.
their set. He was promised payment, never got it. To this day, he's still owed probably several hundred quid for doing those gigs. At least I'm pretty sure he is. I highly doubt the guy ever paid him. Because, like I said, dickhead.
Yeah. Right. I think, sir, it is now time that we have some playing.
Ooh.
You've put it off for long enough. So.
Okay, well. Left Kaine, took a year out, joined the Dinos, played rock cover stuff. End of last year, started It's Not a Phase Mum because I want to play cheesy pop punk stuff that I listened to in my teenage years. There we go. That's
Excellent.
up to today.
Lovely. Nice and concise. Well
check
done.
out It's Not a Phase Mum. Also, we're doing a live stream gig on August 15th.
Oh,
so
cool.
check that out.
Excellent.
We'll be playing some cheesy early 2000s rock and pop punk stuff.
Right. Let's get into it then. So, Anthony's
Hit me.
Anthony's favourite licks, sexy licks, coming at you. What are your favourite things, the things that make you smile about playing the guitar?
I like playing around with effects quite a bit. I mean, I say that. I've kind of got like 3 or 4 that I just stick to and really love. Like
That's fine.
I love obviously flanger stuff. Like, I love the flange sound.
It's a great sound, isn't it?
And then you got phaser, which is very similar but slightly different. There's the waveforms are affected in slightly different ways, which I'm not sure the science behind it, but phaser sounds similar but different to flanger.
We'll ask Simon.
Yeah, you probably. Oh, Simon will know.
Simon will know.
And then probably my favourite, especially for clean stuff, is just your classic like chorus sound. I love a good clean chorus, bit of delay, and that's a clean sound that I can just play with for days. That clean sound that I've ended up, well, I just made it and then ended up sticking with it, like, was when I was working out sounds to use with the Dinos, and I was trying to work out a sound for actually that wasn't delay that I put on, that was rotor vibe. So
I did wonder. That sounds like that.
Yeah, like I was trying to find a She Sells Sanctuary kind of sound, and this is what I ended up with, and I was like, well, I really like that clean tone, so I'm just going to stick with that for any kind of clean stuff I do. See, this guitar is quite nice because it can split to like single coils, so you get that sort of stratty sound as opposed to like that humbucker sound, like that nice twang.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy playing with effects and stuff. Licks, like I said, my lead playing, it's one of those things, like, I'm not an insane lead player, but
Don't have to be.
I do enjoy like really melodic stuff. Like slow and melodic is brilliant for me. Like where have I got the tune in? Like one of my favorite ever sort of lead lines is probably in the chorus of Nemesis by Arch Enemy. It was like, I can't remember how to play it, but it was like, do you know how that song goes?
I don't know Nemesis.
I haven't played it in so long, I can't remember it, but
I know
certainly...
Arch Enemy Lee lines. There's some really Michael Ammett's playing is really nice.
That's the start of Nemesis.
Ah, right.
Yeah, but certainly like slow, melodic lead lines are. I mean, obviously a perfect example is something like still got the blues.
Mm.
That's just like I'm massively in the wrong tuning for that. One thing I like about my Kemper, I can just switch tunings at the touch of a button. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love shred stuff, but it's one of those things like I just can't play it. Like, at least not yet. It's one of those things I really need to practice at. When it comes to my own personal...
Unleash your jam, bitch.
Come
on.
Come watch a gig. When we can have a gig again.
Ben was actually there. Ben was a very lovely chap who lives up in Wales. He came down to my birthday show.
Oh, so yeah, you would have seen me playing Phantom of the Opera and whatnot with you.
Watching you playing, watching me brutally ruining it.
I had to have a cheat sheet. Some people might not know. I literally had a piece of paper scrawled with chords to remember all the key changes.
So did I. It didn't do me very good.
When it comes to my own personal lead playing, as far as shreddy stuff goes, I do a lot of 3-note per string kind of patterns, sort of alternate picking, because I find those easy enough. Like, sort of stuff like slowly you kind of have things like sort of patterns like that, which obviously sped up can sound pretty cool. You end up with
nice.
You end up with things like that. I like a lot of. This is very sort of Adrian Smith / Kirk Hammett inspired. I do a lot of that kind of pattern.
Yeah,
is something I use a lot in just all over the fretboard. Like I said, I've over the years I've just learned so many patterns which I can just sort of move between keys and use as needed. That's another pattern that I use. I do a lot of sort of double stop things.
Nice.
I sort of throw things like that in sort of very sort of bluesy. Again, that's probably coming from the Adrian Smith sort of school.
Yeah, because he's a massively blues influenced player, isn't he? Loves Stevie Ray Vaughan. What about favourite? What about your favourite solo? It can be from Kaine.
I was prepared. Well, I'll do both. Oh, actually, favourite Kaine solo. That's a difficult one. I'm stuck between two. Probably one of my favourite solos, not Kaine, Bark at the Moon.
What a solo!
The first solo. Nope. That one, like,
keep going.
I remember. I got to start again now.
No, next bit's
That's the hard part, though. And it's this bit.
Oh, yeah.
Not quite right.
It's good enough, my boy.
I remember when I first learnt to play that solo, and when I could actually play it, I was just like, holy crap. And obviously I recorded a video of me playing it and put it on YouTube, and I was like, if 15-year-old me could know that in however many years' time I can play this, he would be absolutely amazed. Yeah, that's probably one of my favourite solos outside of Kaine.
So what about inside of Kaine?
There's two that I really like. Oh, probably if I had to pick one, it would probably be the solo from a song called Iron Lady, which was the opening track
To the
of
Margaret Thatcher tribute album.
yes,
Yeah.
the opening track off of the Waystone, which is that album that I've got on vinyl. Probably one of the best solos I've ever written, to the point where people have actually like learnt my solos. People like fans of Kaine that play guitar have uploaded videos of them playing my solo, and I'm like, holy crap!
It doesn't get any cooler than that, really, does it?
That's surreal. Like, considering, you know, I'm nobody. Like, Kaine aren't a massive band. Like, I'm not a massively well-known guitarist, but for somebody to want to learn a solo that I wrote, I was just like, holy crap, that's so cool.
That's quite humbling, isn't it?
Yeah, that somebody likes something that I've written to the point where they want to learn it.
Oh,
I was just like, wow. Yeah, it goes a little something like this. Nope. It's been a while since.
very nice.
That's probably the best solo I ever wrote.
Ah, good man. No, that's really nice, especially when, say, other people really take an interest to the point that they actually learn something you've written. Don't think it gets much better than that.
No, like,
well, maybe if they give you like a handful of cash, that's obviously always good.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. But yeah, certainly that was quite a humbling thing to have somebody want to learn something I've written. Like, I didn't know what to say, really. It's like, wow, that's so strange. Like, because I know I don't know if it's just I don't really think that much of myself as like a musician. It's like, I'm not amazing. Like, there's so many better people out there.
Yeah, but I think in this day and age, my friend, there are, as we said the other day, there are embryos now that are being born that can probably pick up a guitar within 2 weeks and be playing better at the age of 2 than all of us after playing for like 30 years or more. It's just
Sadly,
the way of
yeah.
the world. But the whole point is we're all individual. We all bring something unique to the instrument, and it's your style and your taste is what people are interested in. So yeah, there's 1,000 million guitarists on YouTube who can sit there and just go yeah, and sit there and sweep on 16-string guitars. And
yeah, sweeping is one of those things that like I never really got to grips with. Like,
no,
I can do some 3-string sweep stuff, like, but the 5-6-string stuff, I'm just a mess.
no.
Like, I can't go much faster than that with it. But
No.
at least the 3-string stuff are like, still that wasn't the cleanest, but the 3-string stuff, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of get away with that.
No, see-
In fact, one of my favorite little licks actually is a little sweeping thing, which is very Malmsteen. It's like a diminished, like,
Nice.
sort of thing.
That's cool.
Which is actually incorporated into a Kaine riff, which is it's an instrumental on the Waystone. And you got like sort of incorporated that little sweep thing into the riff, which I really like that. Like, spices it up a bit.
It does. It adds a nice little bit of sparkle.
Mm.
Well, I'm impressed, sir. Very good.
Thank you, sir. What else? Riffs.
That's all right. We I think we're going to be coming to the end of this very soon anyway. So we've actually gone 20. We've been into talking for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
Yeah, I just feel like I've been mostly just talking bollocks and not playing enough guitar for a sexy licks video.
no, it's all part of it. It's getting to know the artist. It's getting to know where they come from, who they were, who they are now.
Yeah.
Scale exercises with Anthony Murch.
That's a lot of stuff that I do to warm up. I just run up and down scales. I like the especially the harmonic minor. That's one of my basic warm ups, really. Just gradually get faster and faster and faster.
Nice. See, so you can shred.
Kind of. Very basic.
Hey, it's a lot better than a lot of players I know.
It's enough. It's enough.
Right. So what can we expect from Anthony in the future after all this shenanigans? Well, have you got anything in the pipeline during the hiatus of music at the moment?
Not particularly. I mean, like I said, I've got that live streamed gig with It's Not a Phase Mum next month, August 15th.
And where can people find that?
Facebook.com/It's Not a Phase Mum Band. We will be more. We will be posting. I think the people that are doing the live stream are going to be able to post it on our page as well, so it'll stream on theirs and ours.
Gotcha.
But if not, we'll at least post a link. That's August 15th. We'll be doing about 45 minutes worth of music. It's all early 2000s.
Kerrang type stuff, isn't it?
Anything that was on Kerrang or Scuzz in the early 2000s. That's what that band is about. Like, it's, it's your Sum 41, your Blink 182.
Papa Roach.
Papa Roach,
yeah.
Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit. As much as I despise it, My Chemical Romance. Actually, I've come to appreciate them. Like, back in the day when, emos weren't cool, I was, there's me being a metalhead listening to black metal and stuff, and then you got all these emos listening to My Chemical Romance, and I'm just like, no, I can't listen to all that crap.
I can only do it if I tuck my beard under my hat.
Now I actually kind of appreciate My Chemical Romance.
There you go. That's my emo look.
Musically, they're actually pretty damn good.
How do I look as an emo?
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I love it. It's like a reverse emo. It's kind of going up your chin.
Chin emo. A chimo.
That was like, no, chimos are a thing. That was like when you had those weird crosses between half chav, half emo.
Chimo. I didn't know that.
So they've got a fringe, but they're wearing like a tracksuit.
Oh, nice. So best of both worlds.
And they listen to like Eminem and My Chemical Romance. So,
somebody has to, I suppose.
So yeah.
Boo emos.
Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy is the bass player for It's Not a Phase Mum. He's a wonderful lad.
He is.
Jimmy.
He's a splendid chap. And I might just next time I see him call him Jim Drew.
Yeah, he's the bass player. The old drummer of Kaine actually is the drummer for this band.
Oh, is that
Chris McKinnon?
It is Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a good lad. I like Chris.
Yeah, he's the drummer for Phase. We've got a guy called Elliot singing. He's a laugh. He's a strange fellow, but he's a laugh. He's a really good singer as well. He's got that pop punk sound down to a T. And he's got personality, so I can see him being a great frontman.
Cool.
Like as soon as this whole business is over and we're allowed to gig again, Phase are going to be trying to get as many gigs as possible. I mean, we were so close to being ready to gig.
You were
and
just
then,
there, weren't you?
Lockdown. Like, I was calling up pubs and everything, like saying, like, we're looking for gigs. And some people were interested. They were like, "Oh, that sounds really cool. I would be interested. That's like a bit different from everything else.
Yeah.
We'd be interested in that." And then, yeah, lockdown happened. Yes, Heather, carrots. Little inside joke.
Oh, okay.
Basically, carrots.
By that, you don't mean inside joke, do you?
And do you know The Middle by Jimmy Eat World?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know the first word of that?
Is it carrot?
It's, hey, don't let yourself up. No, so it's hey.
Oh, yeah.
I recorded one of our band practices, and we start doing press the button. We start doing the intro for The Middle. So we're like, ow, I pulled a muscle in my leg.
You're getting old, boy.
Where's me? I've put my tuner on.
Oh no, it's all going wrong.
So we're like, and the singer's like, hey, what do horses like to eat? Carrots. It's like,
What?
the first line of the first word of the song is hey.
Ah.
So he was making us think he's going to say like, hey. It's like, and then he busted out with carrots, and we just stopped playing and burst out laughing.
Oh,
I'll
bless his heart.
I'll have to send you the recording. It's probably funnier when you listen to it. Yeah, basically most of our band practices are playing songs, and then in between it's just complete bollocks.
Yeah, that's pretty much how most band practices go, to be honest. Or, in Recovered's case, we don't practice, and most of our gigs are bollocks.
Oh, you're brilliant.
It's all bollocks, in one form or another. Just different degrees of bollocks.
That's part of the show. It's the Recovered bollocks show.
Yeah, if it was serious, nobody would watch us.
Yeah, that's what makes you interesting, because you play well, but you dick about and have fun at the same time.
I'll opt for the second half of that.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Phase will be hopefully trying to gig once this is all over. Dinos also will hopefully be resuming gigging. Not gigged since March, so
Yeah.
who knows?
I
don't think it'll be this year, but
No.
I could be mistaken. Well, actually, no. They've just announced that outdoor gigs are going to be allowed.
As
I don't
Heather
know if you
said,
saw that.
so yeah, it's not a phase mum, also known as Inapum, are going to be a brilliant band to go see live. They shall, I agree.
I hope so. We will try our best to be entertaining and bring you the wonderful early 2000s goodness. So anybody probably between the ages of 25 and 40 will get some serious nostalgia from us.
Sounds good to me.
Or anybody younger or older that likes that era of music as well.
Yeah, or anybody of any age who just wants to have their eyes open to what that particular sort of era of time had to offer. So, Anthony, I would like to thank you very much for joining me this evening.
It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed talking nonsense with you.
It's just one of those days.
That's one of the ones I love it. Keep your distance. Right now, I'm dangerous.
On that wonderful note, ladies and gentlemen. Right, so have a good one until I see you next, dear boy.
Yes, you too. Hopefully, I can come and jam with you and Simon again sometime once that's allowed.
Yes, whenever that's going to be. So, pass on my best wishes and love to your good lady.
I will.
And remind her she has to knit you an extremely itchy pair of woolen underpants. That is the plan.
Yeah, I might wear them once.
But Heather, make sure you sew in a sort of detachable bum flap, because we know sometimes that Anthony likes to have easy access.
Only for you, darling.
Well, I don't want to have to put up a fight. I want things to be as smooth sailing as possible. All right, dear boy. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you everyone for tuning in who has watched this evening.
Thank you to everyone who stuck around and listened to me waffling on. And I'm probably not the most interesting person in the world compared to some of the people you've had on.
Mate, everyone has a story to tell, and it's not a competition.
Well, to be fair, there was quite a few things I meant to touch on that we never actually got to, but
it's always the way.
Yes. We will.
No, those are for you, Mike. I look forward to it.
I'm sure you and me will have plenty of time to speak, and you can ask me whatever you want to know.
Oh, how far up do you like it?
As far as you can get it.
Good lad.
Probably only a few inches, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just you'll just feel a little tickle, nothing else.
That's what they all say.
Yeah. All right, my boy. I will see you very soon. You take care.
All right.
Okay, and I've pressed
Goodbye,
the wrong
everybody.
button. There's my mouse. There it is. There we go. Right. Tatty bye, everyone, and we'll see you soon. All the best.
Bye-bye.